Welcome, everyone in the United States, Canada, and around the world to another episode of It's a Wrap with Wrap, the podcast of overcomers and useful information to better our daily life and mental well-being. Thanks to all our listeners, our viewers on the podcast YouTube channel, It's a Wrap with Wrap, the podcast uncut, and our sponsors and supporters for making the podcast such a success. Besides being heard on all major platforms throughout the world and many social media platforms, the podcast may also be accessed from our website, itsawrapwithwrap.com. On the website, you will find all the episodes, previews of future episodes, the podcast Book Nook, showcasing many of the books our guests have authored, and a link to subscribe to the podcast email list. My guest today is Dr. Scott Geis. Dr. Geis is an Amazon best-selling author who in the blink of an eye went from a respected small-town dentist to a convicted felon. His crime, trying to provide the best care for his patients. He is with us today on this podcast of Overcomers to discuss with us this It Could Happen to You story of how an all-American success story became a nightmare of false accusations, legal manipulation, and ultimate betrayal, landing him in a federal prison cell. He will discuss with us the flaws in our justice system where innocence is no defense against the crushing machinery of federal prosecution. His story is a stark warning in a world where plea bargains have replaced trials. Anyone can become a criminal overnight. Welcome, Dr. Geis, to the podcast.
Good morning. How are you, Ron?
I'm good. Thank you so much for being on. I'd like to start out by giving our audience a perspective on you. Can you please give us a little introduction to your early years growing up and your family dynamics?
Oh, absolutely. I grew up with three brothers in a small town called Newfane, New York. My dad was a high school music teacher. My mom helped out with the learning disability kids in the kindergarten schools. Very well-respected family in town. My dad, being in the senior high, he used to do all the musicals. Anybody who sang in the town knows my dad one way or the other through the years. But yeah, it was kind of a community where everybody looked out for each other. It's kind of the old school. You walked home from school, you did your homework, you changed your clothes to go outside and play. And back in those days, kids were outside playing. We didn't have the games on our computers or anything like that. So you had to make your own fun by playing sports or
Right.
baseball in someone's backyard. We're always out of the house until 6 p.m. and you made sure you got home in time for dinner or you didn't eat. So especially with three other brothers, if you weren't at the table, generally you wouldn't have something to eat by the time you got home.
Yeah.
But yeah, a very, very close-knit town. Everybody looked out for each other. Really neat place for kids to grow up.
And you're right near Niagara Falls, right?
We're straight north of I guess Buffalo, you would say. Route 78 runs directly to Lake Ontario, runs right straight through Newfane. We're 18 miles east of Niagara Falls, so we can see Toronto right across the lake from us in the summertime. You can see the skyline all the way across. So very close to that part of the countries.
Yeah, beautiful part. I remember the Friendship Bridge. I think you could
Yes,
walk right over into Canada at that
absolutely.
time.
Yeah.
I don't know about nowadays, but
So generally over the Rainbow Bridge, right at Niagara Falls, that's generally a popular spot for people to walk across. You can see the falls right from there, so it's really quite a neat attraction.
yeah. Now tell us about your school years and about your years in dental school and shortly after that.
So right directly out of Newfane here, I graduated and went on to Hobart College down in the Finger Lakes. It's in Geneva, New York. Small private school. I was recruited for football at the time. Got to school, thought I was going to be an engineer because the guidance counselor told me in high school that I was good in, math and science. So why don't you go into engineering? Well, I got to Hobart and really just didn't like the classes I was taking. Really liked the biology courses I was taking. So throughout the 4 years I was there, I switched out of engineering and got into a biology degree. And with that, I decided I was going to go on to dental school. So it was one thing kind of led to the other. I was dating a girl at the time. Her dad was a dentist. I shadowed with him for a couple of weeks, fell in love with the whole thing, and from that point on, I knew I wanted to go on to dental school. So
Did you know you had the physical dexterity in your hands to do all that?
It's funny, back when I was in high school, I was really into art and mechanical drawing, and that's kind of where the engineering side came into it. But dentistry is a lot more art than you would think, and a lot
Yeah,
more engineering than you would think as well. So
yeah.
I think my background in both really helped me out in that respect. And you do take it's called a dental admissions test before you can go on to dental school. And part of that is you have to carve a chalk block into a specific thing. So they have you show your dexterity on that before you get accepted into dental school. So,
Oh,
so yeah,
yeah.
there is a test for that. Yeah.
That's good to know. So please tell us about your dental practice in Newfane, New York, uh, the staff you had,
Mhm.
the size of the practice, and what staff issues led to the problems you encountered. Now, Scott, I know it's a complex situation, but take us through the important points of it and take as much time as you need.
Sure. No, absolutely. So I went off to the service after dental school. So when I finished my tour over in Germany, when I came home, I had already set it up with the local dentist, the only dentist in town, that I was going to come back to town and either work with him or open up someplace else. I knew I was going to come back to Newfoundland either way. He was at the retirement age, so we worked it out, and he was super excited that I was coming back to town to work with him so that he could retire out. So it was a great combination at the time. So
Yeah,
I get home, I start working with him, and within a few years, I had put myself into almost any community involvement I could. I was on the hospital board for 10 years. I was doing health fairs for the kids, doing Children's Dental Health Month every February, going to all the local schools to teach the kids how to brush and things like that. So I was the Lions Club. Trying to think of what else it's about, but I was a sponsor for any baseball or volleyball team and things like that. So I got my name out there, and especially being a local kid, everybody knew me anyways. And just being a dentist in town, you start to rekindle all of those old relationships you had with the people, just because I was gone for that amount of time with school and army and all those things. But as soon as I got back to town, things exploded. I doubled the practice within about 6 years. And it got so big that I knew I was going to have to build a brand new facility for what we had going on. So by 2001, I had built a brand new 4,000 square foot state-of-the-art dental facility, brand new equipment, computers now for the very first time. Everything
yeah,
else used to be on old ledgers, with pencils. It's kind of funny how it all used to go, but with the new computers, it was a little bit of a transition.
yeah,
Change is tough for a lot of employees. They want to kind of do things the old way, as long as they can.
yeah.
But yeah, I transitioned everybody over to using computers, and that was the early 2000s, so 2001 through 2003 or four. Kind of getting all the kinks worked out in the practice, trying to get everybody on board. At that time I had I believe I had two hygienists, two assistants, two front desk people, and I was wanting to hire on another dentist because when the other doctor had retired out of the practice, I had to hire on a new associate. So I
Just
brought on an associate.
just to interrupt you for a second, how
Yeah,
big is the town that you practice in? How many people live
yeah,
there?
Newfane's about 5,000 people, 6,000 people. Not a huge place, but Newfane's kind of a hub for a lot of other small towns. So it
Right.
was kind of that centerpiece where everybody would come from different areas to at least our practice.
Yeah,
So we had kind of the whole northern Niagara County sewn up, so to
yeah,
speak. We had a pretty large patient base, a very large patient base to tell you the truth.
yeah,
So yeah, it's when things started to hit me from the legal side of things, it wasn't necessarily anything that was having to do with my practice itself. It's just that one of my employees had been doing something that they shouldn't have been doing, she and her husband, and they caught them for doing something with a local union here in Niagara Falls called Local 91. Local 91 is a concrete union, a union where they've been noted for a lot of bad acts. They would pressure people into taking union work rather than private work. They were well known for a lot of racketeering issues and things throughout the years. The FBI was investigating them for years, probably decades.
right.
So So when things happened out of that union, this my employee just happened to have a husband who was part of that union. The FBI was on top of it immediately, because of what was going on there. So that's how it came back to me. It had nothing to do with what my practice did or did not do. It was all through that I became involved.
Okay. Uh, Now, from what I understand, I did read the book. An awesome
Yeah,
book, by the way. I recommend
thank
it
you.
for everybody. They put in some invoices or bills apparently uh, on your old stationery,
That's
and
correct. Yeah.
that's how that all occurred.
Yeah, so the union had a welfare fund, it was called. The FBI tried to make it look like it was a insurance company, but I mean, through the years, I found out that they do not have dental insurance. So this is simply a welfare fund. So it's almost like uh, a fund that those people in the union could put their money into. They could use it for anything they wanted to. They could use it for housing, improvements. They could use it for vacations, anything they wanted to, because it was their money. It's just that if it was taken out for medical expenses, they wouldn't be taxed on it. So any medical expenses they put in, they would get tax free, their money
Right,
back out again.
right.
So that's where the whole crime began, was just simply because they had been doing it through the years. This time they used a piece of my stationery with a bogus set of treatments on there that weren't performed. Nothing was done. But when they submitted that, someone had called in to blow them in for continuing to do that through the years. And actually, it was a family member of the union member that blew them in. So again, it was just they should have been prosecuted for what they were doing, and actually not prosecuted. It was their money. It was an IRS issue more than anything.
Did they ever get prosecuted for any of this?
I think the husband, the union member, got a misdemeanor for their acts of what he
Okay.
said. I
So
don't, I'm not sure the IRS ever
is
punished
it
them.
safe? Is it safe to assume maybe they made a deal with the authorities?
Well, again, throughout this whole ordeal, that's the only thing that made sense to me. I know the person that took the call from the person at the beginning making the accusation. Once they made the accusation, I know the FBI agent was knew the person involved with the crime. So to me, it's pretty straightforward. I think the FBI wanted to make sure that that person was not criminally prosecuted, but at the same point, they had to give them something to prosecute. So,
Yeah.
and then that was me. So,
Okay. So you're inadvertently, unknown to you, dragged into this whole thing.
correct.
Right. I mean, you didn't do anything wrong. Now you've got the FBI involved. And tell us, I mean, what do they do? Do they just start coming down on you, going through your records?
So no, actually, nothing as far as that goes. What happened is the union member knew that he was getting in trouble for this bill that he
Yeah.
had. And so he
Yeah.
approached me with it, saying, "Is there anything I could do to help him somehow?" And it makes no sense to me, but he wanted me to do something to make sure that maybe the treatment was done so he wouldn't be found guilty of pulling his money out illegally, whatever.
Yeah.
So I got this bill from him, and when I did, I took it immediately to my lawyer. Didn't have a criminal lawyer. I didn't want to have. I never wanted to have a criminal lawyer
Right. Right.
back, but anyways, my corporate lawyer said, "Well, geez, maybe we can just. I'm going to make a couple phone calls and make sure that this is not going to come back on you."
Right.
Well, that phone call notified the FBI that I was the person that could have possibly sent in a fake bill for these people. Now, again, I don't even know where the union is, much less how to submit a bill. And again, they don't have dental insurance, so it's not an insurance thing. It's just they took money out of their own account. So
Right.
even
Right.
through this entire process, that was never. I mean, it's in plain sight, but no one would approach it from that standpoint. It should never have gone anywhere, but it did. They kept
Right.
pushing it along like it was an insurance problem rather than a simple IRS issue for them.
Okay. Now, as I understand it, uh, you did hire another dentist during that period,
I did.
and I guess for some reason, I guess she liked working with you and everything, but she decided to go in business for herself and
Correct.
start her own.
Yeah,
And I guess she took a lot of she took most of your staff with her, didn't she?
correct. Yeah. So
Have you ever wondered how some people manage to turn tragedy into triumph? How they take what could have broken them and somehow transform it into a new beginning? Meet Judy Kim Cage, the author of Super Survivor: How Denial, Resistance, and Persistence Can Lead to Success and a Better Life After Stroke. This remarkable book takes you on a real life journey, one that begins with a devastating stroke but evolves into a story of resilience, humor, and hope. It's not just about surviving, it's about reinventing life when everything you knew suddenly changes. In Super Survivor, Judy invites readers into her world, the world of a woman who refused to let her physical challenges, fear, or frustration define her. She writes with honesty, courage, and even laughter about the realities of stroke recovery, the setbacks, the small victories, and the powerful lessons she learned along the way. It's a story that shows us that denial, resistance, and persistence aren't necessarily bad things. In fact, when used with purpose, they can become powerful tools for healing and growth. When Judy faced her stroke, she didn't know what the future held. But instead of surrendering to despair, she channeled her energy into discovering new strengths, new possibilities, and new ways to live a full and meaningful life. Her book delivers practical insights, heartfelt wisdom, and inspiring reflections that speak to anyone facing major change, whether it's a health crisis, loss, or a personal challenge that shakes your world. Each chapter of Super Survivor blends personal storytelling with real world advice. You'll find humor in the unexpected, inspiration in the struggle, and encouragement to never give up, no matter what life throws your way. This isn't just a stroke survivor's story, it's a human story about rediscovering purpose, strength, and joy. If you or someone you love has faced a stroke, chronic illness, or any life altering event, this book offers a roadmap for resilience. It reminds us that recovery is not just physical, it's emotional, mental, and deeply spiritual. Through Judy's voice, readers find permission to laugh again, to hope again, and to believe that life after adversity can be better than before. Super Survivor also highlights the importance of community and support from family, friends, and professionals, and how leaning on others can actually make us stronger. Whether you're a caregiver, medical professional, or simply someone looking for inspiration, you'll walk away from this book with renewed energy and perspective. One of the most powerful messages in Super Survivor is this: you are not your diagnosis. You are your determination. You are your persistence. You are your spirit to rise. Judy Kim Cage proves that the human will can overcome almost anything when fueled by courage, humor, and an unshakable belief in what's possible. So, whether you're seeking guidance through recovery, looking for motivation to keep pushing forward, or simply want to be inspired by an incredible story of survival, this book is for you. Pick up your copy today and discover how you too can become a super survivor. Because life after challenge isn't the end of your story, it's the start of a brand new chapter. Super Survivor by Judy Kim Cage is available on Amazon or wherever books are sold. Empower your recovery, reignite your purpose, and rewrite your story.
I think the wife of the union member who was my hygienist, I think she got into her ear to say, "Hey, listen, Dr. Geis is going to get in trouble here for whatever he did at the union, kind of thing."
Yeah.
And so that is what I think made her feel like, well, maybe she's got to start on her own. But when she did, yeah, that same hygienist made sure her patients were going to go with her to the new place. And her friend, the other hygienist that I had, was convinced through both of them to do the same. So again, it was just they're thinking, oh my gosh, Dr. Geis is going to go down for this crime that he committed somehow, and so let's go start our own place.
And all this is happening, and you're kind of a little bit what did you say, oblivious to the shenanigans that's going around?
Absolutely. And Ryan, I tell
I
you,
mean, you're doing your job. You're helping people with their dental problems, and here you've got this whole bunch of people just conspiring.
all over the back in the background. Exactly. So it was a little disheartening for me to know that someone could do that for one thing. I mean, to me, it's just I, I just didn't understand that there was actually people out there that would do that.
Yeah.
I
Well,
didn't
yeah.
grow up that way. Never knew of anybody like that, but
Right.
that's what happened.
That's what happens in
Yeah.
sometimes in the real world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell our audience about your love for your town and the contributions you made to it.
So ever since I got back, I mean, all I wanted to do is give back to this town. I tell you, there's really not a better place to bring up kids. I mean, at that time of of my life and generations wise, it was absolutely awesome. Again, everybody looked out for each other. Mothers and fathers of other families were constantly, you're all together. They're like uncles to me, more so than just, someone down the street. Because you
Right.
did do a lot of things with them. You'd stop by, you'd sit and chat with people. They'd have barbecues outside, things like that. So everything was really, really close knit. So when I decided to come back to Newfane, I just wanted to start from the very beginning, build this new facility, put Newfane on the map a little bit. I mean, we only had one stoplight in town, so it's kind of one of those, places where, you talk with friends about, oh yeah, I came from this town out here, and the more you talked, it's like, well, it got smaller and smaller as you talked about it, but
Yeah.
I just want to make a difference here. I want to come back and do things. So built a new practice, built this new facility, and made it a kind of a medical park almost for the town because everybody else had to travel, quite a distance, 10, 12 miles to get to the nearest hospital. And I built a gazebo in the center of it. So even to this day, the gazebo is used every Wednesday for concert night. And they have any sidewalk functions and things. That all takes place on my property. And I just make it available to anyone that can use it. It's just part of it.
Yeah.
Uh,
And this is something you paid for out of your own
and
funds,
and I
right?
maintain it as well. I'm the guy that's out there weeding and
Yeah.
painting and everything else. So, yeah.
So so I guess the FBI gets involved in this thing and blah blah blah. And apparently you've got this criminal defense attorney and things happen and we're not going to get into it deep because I want people to read the book.
Mhm.
Uh but anyway, things happen and they come down on you and they're coming down on uh something like bleach kits or
Exactly.
composite fillings and stuff, uh, some technicalities. What was your opinion about the criminal defense lawyers you hired? I mean, what did you feel they were helping you?
So I think they wanted to understand, from the dentistry side of things, what the FBI was going after. And I still to this day don't think that they really understand, that what an amalgam or a composite is. I'm just making sure that my patients get the best service. If the insurance only pays me for the poorer service, that's all I accepted. So it's just, and that's how most of the dental practices in the United States probably are. They want to make sure that their patients get the best service they possibly can. And if it comes down to submitting to the insurance company the way they want to be submitted to, it's like it's it's a gray area if you want to call it that. But either way, as a dentist, I should be submitting for exactly what I put in. If I put in for a composite, a white colored filling, and the insurance sees that, they send back and say, no, we're only going to pay you for the lower fee, the amalgam. So
Right.
they change the fee and the code to the amalgam. So again, over time, you just put in as the amalgam and not the composite. That's just how, if they changed it, well, that's how we put it in then. So,
Because
so
isn't the amalgam cheaper than the composite, right?
amalgam's cheaper than the composite. So they're
So you're
willing to
putting in a
pay
better
for that.
product.
Correct. But it's an
Yeah,
inferior product. Yeah, exactly.
right.
So, but again, I think my lawyers didn't quite understand that completely, and nor did the prosecutor. They just didn't realize that I actually had given something away for free, and
Yeah.
like I say, and And it's just we were talking about the gazebo and all that community involvement. It's like, why would someone who gives so much stuff away
Right.
steal? It's like if I wanted more for myself, I just wouldn't give so much away. To me, it made no sense. And I thought somewhere along the line, even the judge would stand up and say, wait a second. This guy has done all these things. And actually in court, he actually said that. He said, oh my God, I've gotten 60 letters, absolutely heartbreaking letters of these people who would die for Dr. Geis right
Yeah.
now.
Right.
And why would you steal? I said, he goes, it comes down to greed. I go, oh my God. I go, greedy. No, no, you're taking this completely wrong. It's just, so it just, to me, every step of the way was like that. It's like, oh my God, like getting your feet knocked out from underneath you. You think they're going to come around and actually understand, but it just never happened.
Tell us about your defense lawyers. I mean, didn't they more or less say, "Hey, Scott, why don't you just plead to something?"
Absolutely. Day one.
Day
Day
one.
one. Yeah, it's like, Doc, listen, the FBI gets their talons on you here. They're not gonna stop until they do something. And I said, well, what do they think they have? I don't understand what they think they have on me.
Right.
And so then
Right.
it was, oh, it's like these, it's, I don't know. They said that when I said they thought I was getting nervous when in the FBI interview. Again, I've never been read my Miranda rights. There was never a situation where, oh God, Dr. Geis, we're questioning you for a possible crime. We're going to read you your rights. No, they came there just to make sure that the dental treatment that the Fossilers had submitted for had actually been done or not done, and that's what I went to that meeting for. But from that alone, they thought that I was implicated somehow.
When you went to that meeting, Scott, did you have representation from your lawyers?
My corporate lawyer.
All
No,
right.
no criminal lawyer at that. So after that meeting, that's when my corporate lawyer said, "Listen, these guys, they're up to something. So I'm going to get you a criminal lawyer." And that's when I jumped into the next
S-
set of problems. Yes,
So do you think by even talking to them, you might have hurt yourself?
absolutely. I
I mean,
never,
look,
ever, ever should have gone to talk to them.
looking back at it, they always
Absolutely.
they always say,
Yeah.
wait till your lawyer gets there.
Yeah.
Don't say anything.
Yeah. So my corporate lawyer had actually said to them, "Listen, is Dr. Geis a target of this investigation, or is he coming here simply to justify whether or not these procedures were done?" And they said it's just to justify whether those procedures were done, but that's not what happened.
Right.
So again, so my corporate lawyer actually said to me, he goes, "I will never ever trust the government again." And I said, "Geez, Johnny, I don't know what to tell you, but I'm in it now.
Yeah.
What do they
So
think?"
do you think corporate lawyers probably shouldn't have been there in the first place? It
No.
should have been a criminal
I
defense
should have gone
lawyer.
right to criminal lawyer before I even talked to the FBI.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
No doubt.
So
No doubt in my
that's
mind.
that's something for people listening to this. Be
Needs to be
careful
a
what.
criminal lawyer. Absolutely. Even
Yeah.
though you don't think there's going to be an issue, you still got to get a criminal lawyer
So
there.
they're talking about a plea, and you're going, plea to what?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm innocent. I didn't do
Yeah.
anything wrong.
Yeah.
So you're indicted. You become indicted on several charges.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
what do you think was the rationale of the prosecution to make this from one count to numerous counts?
Yeah. So the original indictment was 9 counts. And so
Yeah,
it was the local 91 issue. And with it, they wanted to show some form of other criminal act somehow.
yeah,
So they were going after my um, tax issues because that same employee had told them that I was taking cash out of the practice.
oh, geez.
So they tried to find some type of tax issue. So they popped on 8 counts of taxes. So that was my original indictment. And then it's funny because when I first talked with my lawyers and they're saying, "Geez, Doc, you don't want a tax count on you. You don't want all this stuff on you. Maybe it's just plea out to the local 91 insurance issue." Again, there's no insurance involved with that. It's a welfare fund, and again, it should have been an IRS issue with the Fossil not me. But anyways, So again, before the indictment, my lawyer was pushing me hard to say, hey, let's just cooperate with the FBI and hopefully we can get out of this with just maybe a slap on the wrist and maybe, one count. I'm like, I go, it's a count of what? A misdemeanor or what? Are you talking? He goes, no, it'll be a felony. I'm like, why would I plead out to a felony when I didn't do anything? I said, that
Right.
sounds good. It's like, I'm still have it. I mean, today, I applied to other insurances for dental treatment and I'm back in practice. I've been back in practice for 7 years.
Right.
I still had to reapply to all these dental insurances. Whatever the patient comes in with, that insurance, I can't take it or see that patient, or that patient won't stay at the practice because they want to get their benefit from their insurance. So I have to apply to those insurances to be credentialed. And it always comes up. Have you ever had a felony? Sure enough, I got to put that down. It's a whole set of paperwork, and it's you got to jump through hoops to get back in credentialed with those people.
So a
Just a
misdemeanor
felony.
would have been no problem.
Misdemeanor would have been a problem.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
probably would have been all right. I mean, but still, why would you want a misdemeanor on you if it didn't do anything? You know?
Right. Now, the FBI invested a lot of time and money in the case, apparently.
Yeah.
And do you think just because of the time and the money they put into it, they weren't letting up?
I think that that's an issue because I did watch. Who's a former federal prosecutor. She talked about how the system works. She in that meeting, that I was watching, she said that once they reach a certain dollar amount, it's like the 50% mark of whatever they were granted to use to go after this. Once they meet that 50%, they're not stopping until they finish out, and
Yeah.
they're going to spend all that money and right to the end. Um, Ironically, the Freedom of Information Act, you can get all the stuff that was put into my case, all the interviews, all that stuff. You just gotta write and get it sent to you, but it showed me all the information that the prosecutors were using, and in that was not only were most of the grand jury transcripts and things redacted. I mean, everything was blank, so I couldn't see anything that was said at the grand jury proceedings to get me the indictment. Whatever they said there was enough to indict me, but nor not my criminal lawyers or myself have ever seen what they actually use as information to indict me. But that's kind of a scary part too. Even if you have a criminal defense lawyer, they can't go to that arraignment for the um,
Grand jury.
grand jury. Sorry, I lost track of
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so the grand jury, and nor can I be there, and they can say pretty much anything they want to and lie, cheat, and steal to get the indictment. And that old saying, like, yeah, the federal government can even indict a ham sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, yes, they can, because they can say anything they want to indict. But once you get the indictment, now it's they got to prove what they've got. So
Yeah.
I think at that point they try to put so much on there that it almost is too scary to go on. So you plea out. I mean, I think that's how they've done this through the years now is you got to throw a lot of stuff out there, show so much risk that it's almost better to plea out.
Yeah, because I'm sure, I mean, your mental state must have been shot because all of a sudden you go from one little thing and then now you've got a whole slew of stuff. And
Incredible.
it's got to be just
Just try to
hard.
keep it out of your head while you're treating patients and things like
No,
that.
it's got to be
Thinking like,
heartbreaking.
and young boys. I mean, I have three boys, and I was a single dad at the time. My wife and I divorced in 2002. So the boys are with me half the time with her. So it's just trying to keep that stuff out of my life for the half of the time I have the boys, and then going back to work and trying to I don't know keep it all together somehow. But it
Yeah.
was it was it was crazy.
Now, tell us what procedures the prosecutors broke or did not adhere to that hurt your defense.
Yeah. So the Speedy Trial Act, again through the years, I mean, you can go all the way back to the beginning of the Constitution and all the things that were put in place way back, in 1789. But there's due process. Due process is just to make it fair, and I think most people out there don't realize, but our Constitution was there so that the government cannot take advantage of us.
Yeah.
It's the people. So the Constitution is there so that government can't get so powerful that they do the same abuses that they were having to tolerate from Britain back as colonies. So So they put all this together. The first 10 amendments to the Constitution is because they said, wait a second, we're not going to even sign for this Constitution unless there's a Bill of Individual Rights. And they had James Madison write up those. It took them 2 years to put this together. So they went over this and over this and over it to make sure that everybody here in this country had individual rights. And they took their time to make sure it was right. So 2 full years they took just going over that. Finally, we have a Constitution. And in that, the Fifth Amendment is all about due process. So with that, due process just means you can't just throw someone in jail. You can't just accuse them of something and not have proof to, go forward. You can't just throw them in there and just say, rot. There's got to be a reason why you put them in there. So what happens is once someone's arrested, it's 30 days before you can, they've got to bring them to either an indictment or something. You've got to put some charges against this person or let them go. It's one or the other. Once you're indicted, it takes 70 days to come to trial. So anything after that, if it takes longer, that if they found that 70 days was the amount of time to make justice still a safeguard. I mean, it makes sure that they can't abuse the system, and the person that's being accused doesn't have to belabor, just like you're talking, every day worrying about what's going to happen to my life or my family or everything else I've worked for. So that has to go to a trial within 70 days, and that's all within the Speedy Trial Act. And
Right.
they just reinforced all that in 1974. It's almost like 200 years later, we now have the Speedy Trial Act that just ensures that you go to trial. So day of indictment, I have to go up and I have to talk to the judge, and he says, how do you plea, Dr. Geis, what is your plea on all this? And I said, not guilty. And I turned to my lawyer, I said, you go shove that indictment up that prosecutor's ass, because I'm telling you, I'm going to fight this thing to the end. So in that moment, everybody should have known that there is no way I'm going to plea out to this stupid charge. So
Right.
I'm in. I'm ready to roll. Let's go. 70 days goes by, nothing's happening. It all should have been dismissed right there.
Right.
3 months out, 4 months out. So because I'm not folding, this whole issue with the boat came up. So in that same fall, because I wasn't folding, not taking the plea, they decided, and I think it's just too coincidental for it not to be. But the boat was damaged, so now I got to pay for a boat that's was insured, but again, it was a federal agency that damaged it, and they wouldn't pay for it because somehow I'm already an insurance fraud guy. So that just added extra leverage on me to plea out. I still didn't plea out. So then in the fall, actually it was in December, they came back with a superseding indictment, raising 9 counts up to 65. 65 counts was equivalent to 122 years in prison
Wow.
for these crimes. So that's what they were leveraging me with. It was just risk.
Can you back up a second, and what was that boat thing all about?
So I had to, again, I worked with a friend of mine, but I just wanted to bring tourism back to our little town here. So Alcott is part of Newfane, is right up on Lake Ontario. It's got the deepest marina on the U.S. side of Lake Erie. So you're able to put a larger boat in there. Well, my buddy came up with the idea of getting a big schooner, like those old 2-mast schooners that used to sail, around the coast.
Yeah.
So back in the 1900s, those things were all over Lake Ontario. But and that going back to the War of 1812, all that stuff was happening in that area. But anyways, I want to bring this boat back. So it was an old John Alden schooner, an 80-foot wooden 2-masted, beautiful boat.
Yeah.
So we brought that down to Alcott, started doing some tours out on the lake. People absolutely loved that boat. I could get 30, 40 people on there at a time. Took them out for, sunset sails and things like that. So it was really just a way to bring tourism back to our town. I mean, I made nothing off of that boat, not a dime. But at the same point, it was worthwhile because I thought it would help out things that were going on there.
Yeah.
So again, that got scuttled down in Florida when it was down there by the U.S. Coast Guard deal. But that was the reason why I had that boat there. It was just simply to help tourism.
So somebody hit the boat?
So it was pulled out each year for an annual inspection. And when it was pulled out of the water, you got to let the water drain out. All wooden boats leak. So you have to put it's caulking between the boards. So when it's out, all the wood's swollen. As it dries, everything kind of shrinks up a little bit. So you can put caulking in, and then when you put it back in the water, it swells again and seals off all those spots.
Okay.
So we have to do it occasionally. And that's what it was out for. But at that time, the person doing the inspection actually took a screwdriver to the planks to see if they were rotted or not, and that damaged some of the boards. And by damaging the boards, I had to replace them as far as the Coast Guard was concerned before I put it back in again. But it was the Coast Guard that damaged it, so now I'm stuck with this.
Our podcast guest and supporter, Stacey Roberts, physical therapist, Master of Science in Nursing and Functional Medicine practitioner, brings over 30 years of experience to her new book titled The Pain-Free Formula, Solving the Puzzle of Muscle and Joint Pain Without Surgery, Drugs, or Injections, aimed at people who have tried many treatments for muscle or joint pain with limited success and are looking for a more holistic, root cause approach without relying on surgery, medications, or injections. This is not just another book filled with medical jargon or miracle cures. Stacey is a respected physiotherapist and health expert who has helped thousands of people, including professional athletes and celebrities, find real lasting relief, and she puts the entire roadmap in the book. The reader will be amazed how Stacey breaks down the truth about chronic pain, how it is not just about bones or muscles, but about how the body, the mind, and even our habits all play a role in healing. The book will give you a step-by-step plan to finally take control, to understand your pain, your body, and how to create an environment where healing can happen naturally. Here is the best part. Her approach works without relying on surgery, injections, or constant medications. If you have been living with chronic pain, if you have been told surgery is your only option, or you are tired of just masking symptoms, you need to read The Pain-Free Formula. It is not just a book, it is a lifeline. It will teach you how to take charge of your healing journey, how to understand what your body is trying to tell you, and how to use proven methods like soft wave therapy and natural movement to finally live pain-free, safely, and effectively. You can obtain the Pain-Free Formula on Amazon, available in paperback and Kindle. Don't wait for another sleepless night or another round of failed treatments. Take the first step toward real relief and start your journey to living pain-free.
Both that I can't put back in the water. I can't get the wood. It's all this long leaf pine out of South Carolina, which had all been harvested out for all those boats in the early 1900s. So we couldn't find the wood. I was going to send my shipwright to Belize to get the wood if we could find a tree possibly to replace it. It just was crazy. So the boat never got back in the water. I had to scuttle it, I had to total it, but I never got any insurance money for it because it was the Coast Guard, and because I'm sure because I was going through this other issue with, the federal government. So
Wow. Now, after being bled dry of money, fighting for your innocence,
yeah.
and being told by your defense to plead out, you eventually do that. How did you handle that, and how did the people in town react to it?
Well, that too is probably the biggest reason why I wrote the book, because they have no idea why I would plea out if I was innocent, and rightfully so. I mean, I can't imagine anybody else doing it either.
Yeah,
But once you put into the system like this, and you can see how unfair and how just the truth gets distorted, and things that are happening throughout, you see why people do it. The issue was, gosh, I talked with my family about it. I said, instead of being 70 days to trial, it was, 32 months, or I don't know how many months it was. It's stupid. It's something like 31 months. But it was crazy that, it comes down to that. And at that point, I had to plea out to two felonies, not just one, two, one for taxes and one for insurance again. So, it was just a difficult, certainly, decision
I
to
can
make. But
understand you were exasperated.
oh my God, it just could not, you couldn't go any longer. I mean, honestly, God, I was just beat. And
Yeah,
at that point, I was like, oh my God, I just want to let's, whatever we got to do. I want to get this over. Whatever I got to do afterwards, I want to get home. I want to be with my kids. I want to get this out of my head.
right.
I want to get, at that point, then, things really hit the fan, because when I got home, New York State then, because of the conviction, took away my dental license. And it was just, again, I couldn't fight for it. I couldn't tell them why. As soon as I had that conviction, it was an automatic suspension of my license for 3 years. The worst part about it is that after 3 years, I could reapply, but then it took another 3 years to get back in, because every stage of it was a year apart. So it was a 6 year hiatus that I had to take for really no reason. But that's, too, was it gave me time to start writing this book.
Right.
It gave me an opportunity to do that. So I guess
Yeah.
that something was good to come out of. But this is the only way I could tell people in town why I pled out as well. I mean, they're just unfortunately that's read it. And I'm telling you, we were just at a function this week on Tuesday. It's a thing we do for a carousel again in Alcott, but people come out to that like it is a reunion. And so many people came up to me on Tuesday, said, "Oh my God, Dr. Gus, I read your book. Can't believe it. We always knew that you were innocent, but we just couldn't understand what was going on." I said, "I know. I It's too complex to tell you. I can't
It
sit here
is
and tell you
complex. Yeah,
today. You got
it
to read
is.
this,
And I can tell the audience out there, they're probably listening to this and going, wow, this is complex.
Unbelievable."
Now, you get sentenced to 15 months. I
Correct.
mean, I think your defense attorneys told you, yeah, don't worry about it.
Find it. Yep.
they'll let you, you're not going to do any prison time. Well, anyway, you did.
Yeah.
You got sentenced to 15 months of federal prison and stiff repayment fines to both the insurance companies
Yeah.
and the IRS.
Yeah.
What kept you going through all this? As you, like I said, you had to be worn down. I mean, how did you do it?
I tell you, it's family and friends. There's no other way around it. You can't do it.
Yeah,
No other way.
you couldn't do it alone. No way. Yeah.
No,
So it was just support.
totally.
Yeah. Now, you alluded to this a little bit a few seconds ago. How did the sentence you received affect your license? I guess when do they take your license away? Once you're convicted?
So no, so it was in March of 2011 was my conviction. So that's when I pled out. By the fall, I had to, or no, 10. I don't know. I think it's 10 or 11. I can't remember. But anyways, so that fall, I had to wait for sentencing. At the sentencing, once I pled out in court, I had to wait for the sentencing. That was late summer. Late summer, the we get the sentencing saying, Dr. Geis, you're sentenced to 15 months in prison. You got to pay all this restitution. And then there was a period of time before I actually had to self-surrender to a federal institution. So there was some time. My son was in football in the fall. My eldest son. So all that, nothing was happening in my license at that point. Nothing. So I go to prison, finish up. I'm going, oh my God, I'm going to get done with this. I'm going to go back. The day I got out, there's probably about a week that I had to report to this halfway house called in Buffalo to make sure that you're not going to just go out and do another crime or whatever. So I had to report there for those few weeks before I could go back into my dental practice. The day I went back to my practice, I had a full book again. I had my whole patient boatload was right there. Here we go. We're right back. We're gonna go. I'm okay. Thank God I got through that. Let's just forget about it and move on.
Right.
Oh, that's when New York State Education Department, because of the conviction, they have to have a hearing and they have to. It's almost automatic. They have to revoke my licensure. They have to take it for a period of time, and it's a 3-year hit, and then you got to reapply to get it back. So I was already back practicing for another 9 months. So July of 2012 is when I lost my license. So from that point on, I had to work on getting back into dentistry again. So that's
Now,
when I started writing the book in 12.
even though that you lost your license,
Hmm.
would you be allowed to hire another dentist to come in to the practice? Not, and you not practicing, but somebody
Yeah.
else.
So ownership in New York State, that's one of the requirements. To own a dental practice, you have to have a dental license.
Okay. So
There has to
that's
be a dental
out.
licened.
So that's out.
Yeah.
That
Believe me,
idea.
I tried to find any opportunity I could, right? It's like, oh my God, there goes my whole livelihood, and I
Yeah.
I did own another building in Lockport and started working on that. I didn't waste my time. I was doing everything I could, but yeah, it's a whole lot different. You're trained to be a dentist. You don't want to give up that license
So
for,
you're a dentist and you have assets, but if this happens to people who are just, regular 9 to 5 jobs and,
yes,
just getting
it's
by,
devastating. I'm sure it's
there's no way they have to plead.
I think that's how it goes. I really, there's no other way around it. You
I mean,
have to,
even though they're innocent, you know,
you're going to have to.
they're going to
Yeah.
have to plead out because they can't afford these lawyers. How much is a
No.
lawyer? 400 bucks an hour or something?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they make a boatload of money.
And they make it no matter you win or lose. There's no,
Oh yeah.
no, if I lose, you get your money back. No.
Yeah. Okay, well, we already know that the people who started all this, nothing really much happened to them. But what advice do you have for those out there that may be in trouble facing federal prosecution for whatever the situation? What advice do you have for them?
So I would say, if anything, the federal rules of criminal procedure. So what I've found is that most prosecutors are able to bend the rules, ignore the rules, totally, change things to their favor, throughout the proceedings. But if you can show that they're doing that, they will have to dismiss their case. So you got to have a good lawyer who understands those rules, stays on top of the federal prosecutors to make sure that they are following exactly by the rules. We have to follow rules, they do too. So unfortunately, that doesn't happen. The federal prosecutors are able to get away with just about anything.
Yeah,
So it makes it very, very difficult unless you have a very good criminal lawyer that can, federal criminal lawyer that can stay on top of that. Like my 70 days thing. I mean, how can 70 days turn into, 3
three,
years?
three,
Yeah,
yeah, 3 years. It should
it's
have
just
never have
crazy.
happened.
Never.
Yeah. Uh, Tell us once again, the book is a disturbing injustice.
Mhm.
What do you hope the readers take away from reading it?
I hope they learn more than anything, just to know what can happen. And no matter if you're doing everything right, and it's funny, I almost called the book, no good deed goes unpunished, because it's like, come on, I couldn't have done more. I mean, I did so much for my community. I tried to be, a stalwart, one of the main people in our community, making sure that everybody got, things they needed and things like that. And I still got pounded, no, and I can't imagine someone, how they would feel if they went through the same thing. But again, it's like I think you have to live your life no matter what. But just know that things can happen and they happen quick. And once you get in the middle of it, you need strong support from both family and friends. If you don't have that, it's going to be super difficult for you to get through it. But but all I can tell you is that I want to be an advocate for change, just like, most people out there that have gone through similar situations. So, use us as something to help you through it. I can't tell you how many young guys I helped in prison because they just had absolutely nothing. They had no one to fall back on. I mean, I took these guys under my wings, just saying, listen, guys, you got to start thinking about what you're going to do when you get out of here. So let's work on some things and do it. There were classes there that we had, just trying to teach them, how to be a better person, whatever that is.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's so many people out there right now, I'm sure, that are probably facing similar situations. They just need to. They got to make sure that everyone sticks by those rules. One way or the other, they've got to make sure that they're held to it. The federal prosecutors have to follow the rules or dismiss the case.
I don't want to dwell on it, but you went to a federal prison, I take it.
Correct.
Uh, was it one of, how was that? I mean, what kind of
Yeah, so
experience
there's
did you have?
federal prison camps, and then there's federal prisons. The one in Canaan, which is in the northeast corner of Pennsylvania, is where I was sent to, 5.5 hours away. So my family and kids had to drive 5.5 hours to see me, and where
Yeah.
they should have been able to go like 2 hours down to McKean, which is in western Pennsylvania, just below Buffalo. But anyways, they sent me to make it even harder. But so Canaan prison camp is like, there's no fences.
Yeah.
Um, this is the minimum of minimum. So when you get there, it's strict. You're counted 5 times a day and all that, but you can't leave the premises. If you do, you go to a medium security. So no one wants to go up in severity. You want
No,
to go
no,
down in
no, you don't
severity.
want to do that.
But associated with that Canaan prison camp was also a high security prison as well. So that high security prison was just up the hill from us. Our prison camp, the people that were in there, was 148 of us. I think the capacity was 150, so it was almost full. but you are a workforce for that entire, your workforce for that whole complex. So everybody has a job, you make 9 cents an hour. So, yet we had to buy our own shampoo, our own soap, our own socks, our own, you name it, toothpaste. You had to buy that stuff. So, unless I had money on the outside to be put into my account, I couldn't have gotten anything. So, again, helping out some of these other guys that had nothing, just handed stuff off to these guys. I'd get what I needed for them and give it to them. But yeah, that's how the camps work. There's a place where you have to buy sneakers. You can't bring your own in. You got to buy them from them. So it's a business. Bureau of Prisons is a business. So that camp, everybody has a job. There's landscaping. There's housekeeping. There's guys that work in the kitchen. I actually, in my book, I talked about working at the power plant with Dr. Stratford. So it was just two of us in there. But the people who are in there had to know how to do a water test and things like that. So our chemistry background and different things helped us get those jobs.
Yeah.
So, but that took us out of the main, craziness that, 148 people can get into. But yeah, so we were virtually a workforce to maintain the whole entire place. So 148 guys at 9 cents an hour, that's one minimum wage employee. So
Wow.
that's what it costs the Bureau of Prisons to keep that place going.
Scott, what hurt you the most from this terrible experience you endured? What hurt you the most?
I think it's my loss of integrity. You know, you're always questioned on it anytime anything ever comes up anymore. It's like, okay, oh God, didn't you go to prison? Yeah, yeah, I sure did. So it's not like you're just taking at face value, like, yeah, okay, I believe this guy. Okay, great. No, no, and everything's at multiple questions after that. So I think that by far is the most damaging. I think it was, Warren Buffett said that. He goes, billionaire, whatever. He said, you can afford to lose money, but you cannot afford to lose your integrity.
Yeah,
So you do what's right, no matter what, whether someone's watching or not, just do what's right, and you shouldn't have any problems. But
right.
sometimes you do.
How is life now and any plans for the future?
Yeah, I'm still working with Dr. Stratford. I really think that the VA needs drastic help as soon as possible. I have two sons in the military. I was military. My brother's military. He has two sons that are military. My dad was military. But I've been over to the VA, and unfortunately, the guys that really need treatment aren't getting it timely enough. I think it's just too busy, and I think sometimes they get overlooked. I mean, I think a lot of times they get overlooked. They don't get their treatment timely enough. That's why you have so many homeless vets now, and the suicide rate is stupid, and drug use and things. It's just because they're being shunned, overlooked. They're just being neglected.
Yeah.
So I think the VA needs some help, and I really want to put a lot of my time towards that. And I think Dr. Stratford and I came up with a plan that would work really, really well for them. And they just have to let us in. But again, I'll be scrutinized for having that felony on me when I go in. So, okay, Dr. Geis, we see you had a felony in your past. So it's difficult for us to do anything because of that. So, not that we won't want to try, but we're gonna continue to push it, and hopefully something really, really good will come out of all of that.
Well, that's good to hear. Now, closing out, for those out there facing challenges that are taking a toll on their health and mental well-being, what can you tell them to push through it and not be defeated?
Yeah, you got to talk to yourself positively. I mean, seriously, we all talk to ourselves like, "Oh my God, do I really have to get up this morning?" and things like that. So,
Yeah.
you're talking to yourself all day long. You're like, "Oh God, I really don't want to work out today," or things. But I think the more you talk positive to yourself and just say, "Hey, you know what? This is a new day. I'm gonna get up. Let's just look at today. Let me do something positive today." And then, by the time you go to bed at nighttime, you're going to feel really good. The next morning, you're going to wake up to the same thing. Hey, I'm going to do something positive today. I tell you, after about 2 weeks of that, it's a habit, and you start to feel really good about yourself. You know you can do things. There's no one out there that can't do something positive for someone else or for themselves every single day. So I think that's what they have to do.
Okay, great advice. Great advice. I want to thank you, Dr. Geis, for being on the podcast, sharing your story, making yourself vulnerable, not only on this, but with the book. with our audience. I wish you all the best going forward in your personal and professional life, and it's been a pleasure and an honor to have you on and to tell your story. And I think people will listen to this and give everything a second thought. You shouldn't judge people just when you don't know their circumstances.
Absolutely. That's so important. Absolutely
Yeah,
so important.
yeah. Well, thanks again.
Right. Thank you.
Comments and suggestions for the podcast, you can email me at itsarapwithrap@gmail.com. We're on Facebook. Our group is It's a Rap with Rap. We have 2,000 members. And if you want to join, it's a private group. Just email me. We're on Instagram. It's a Rap with Rap podcast. We're on X at Rapper, WRAPPER 130. Our website is it's a rap with rap.com. And don't forget, all the episodes are on YouTube. It's a Rap with Rap, the podcast uncut. I want to thank everyone for listening or viewing. And I want everybody to please stay safe. And for now, it's a wrap.